This BNTM, the Electoral Commission of Salone, being pulled what Nado say after consultation where they be get with the president on the 19th of October. Then be receive a correspondence from the president, Usai, president being direct the Electoral Commission of Salone for use the district block and proportional representation system for conduct the 2023 elections. Well, today at the program, we can discuss waiting at the issues them we get for do with the PR system. And I don't introduce, we get them to now. We start with the executive secretary at the Electoral Commission of Salone, Wena William Ado Davis. We see the notice where the Electoral Commission of Salone being police BNTM. So after a consultation, we have been get with the president, we have been receive correspondence. Also, the president direct the commission for use the district block and proportional representation system for conduct the 2023 elections. Well, for listeners and viewers, them will not be no waiting to go discuss on that consultative meeting. The way make the correspondence may come out after the meeting. Just share with the listeners and viewers them waiting to be the purpose of that consultation. They will lead to this particular directive.
Good morning again. Briefly, the office of the president be contact or consult the Electoral Commission concerning the use of the proportional representation system, specifically we reference now section 38A of we constitution. Section 38A, they give an alternative system to the primary system for conduct parliamentary elections, specifically for ordinary members of parliament. So the office of the president be consult we, and we be looking to the matter, and we will also be able to give an opinion or a judgment on the matter. Basically, we suppose for use the constituency system, reference now section 38 of the Constitution, 38.1 and 38.2 of the 1991 Constitution. But because of the timing, at the time when the census, the midterm census results come out, we can realize, say, the time we will take for make we review the constituency boundaries. We not get enough time for meet up the June 24 elections date next year, 2023. So we will also look at the alternative electoral system for the conduct of parliamentary elections for ordinary members of parliament. And we notice, say, the condition where the Constitution put in section 38A, where can give the president the power for direct that we can use the proportional representation system. We can see, say, that condition they hold. The condition within section 38A is, say, when they don't pull dates for the conduct of parliamentary elections, and we're not able to get constituencies with they in accordance with subsection 3 of section 38, then after consultation with the Electoral Commission, the president get the power for direct that the Electoral Commission can use the proportional representation system, specifically the district block representation system as 38A and the Constitution be spelled out. When you look at subsection 3 of section 38, where section 38A the reference, it is say when we want to draw boundaries for constituency, waiting to determine the boundaries for constituency, now the number of inhabitants we nearly as equal to the population quota as it is reasonably practical. Specifically in that section, subsection 3 of section 38, they say. So we check and see whether there existing boundaries with it. For now, we get existing boundaries where we don't demarcate since 2017. But when we be demarcated in 2017, we demarcated them using the applicable population quota by then. That'd be 53,000 inhabitants on average to one constituency. So then will be the population quota. Now, after the census figure don't come out, the midterm census figure, now our population are 7.5 million. Then we be asked Parliament officially, they write back to we say the number of seats for the next parliament, it will still remain the same. It will remain 132 seats. So now don't two information they will need. We'll be end up for calculate now the new population quota with subsection 3 of section 38 of the Constitution. They say the new population quota now end up for be 57,000. So it means that the two figures here are significantly different from each other. So it means that the existing constituencies that we'll get now will be done demarcate since 2017. They not hold because the population quota with subsection 3 they refer to, it don't change. So as a result, the issue where we make judgment on, we not really get constituencies then we establish in accordance with subsection 3 of section 38 of the Constitution. So at the conclusion of the consultation, we be for advice that because we not get the constituencies, we get the applicable population quota, we can use the alternative system when at the proportional representation system.
So by and large now, ECSL advised the president for give the directive, for go ahead and give that directive there?
Well, that's now be we own judgment in the consultation, and taking into consideration the fact that we not get enough time now for make we go keep hold on the election date June 24th next year. We not get enough time for demarcate the new boundaries them using the new population quota of 57,000. So that was the conclusion.
So in short, now I advise the president for arrive at the conclusion. Now you make mention of Constitution of Salone Amendment Act of 2001, 38.1, and also in the 1991 Constitution we get 38.2. We talk about every constituency established under section them within Guinea 38.1 say them for return with a constituency, a member of parliament. NEC or ECSL before una advice, una been look at 10 sections there so before una arrive at conclusion and give the advice for the PR system?
Yes, definitely. We are aware of subsection 2 of section 38. It say every constituency for return one member of parliament. We are aware of that. Then the primary system, as I explained. But before you go into the election for members of parliament, you first of all need to determine the constituencies them into which the elections then for run. So waiting at the constituencies they will for use for the 2023 elections. So now the population quota don't change. And we suppose for use the new population quota for demarcate the new constituency boundaries then. But if we say we go into that the right now, it means that process they not go end for the next 6 to 9 months. And we know say the elections then we get for conduct them in June 20 and 23. So we're aware of that. But now make the Constitution get an alternative electoral system. When a section 38A, it is say when we don't pull election dates for members of parliament, but we not get constituencies we establish in accordance with subsection 3 of section 38, then after consultation by the president with the Electoral Commission, the president get the power for direct that we use the proportional representation system.
You make mention of timing where you say no the na ECSL side regarding the time the dates when I don't set for the elections and time for do the boundary delimitations and all. But this boundary delimitation are process where una be don't start. So during the planning stage, before now, una not been take all them factors there into consideration before the ECSL announce the date for the election?
Yes, we take all of that into consideration, and mind you, the most important date we know for shift at all are the date of the elections, for presidential and also for parliamentary elections. Then they not for shift at all, June 24, 20, and 23. When you talk about boundary delimitation process, basically the Constitution used the word now a review. The Constitution section 38 it gives the Electoral Commission the power for review the boundaries of constituency. After we don't go through the review, if there is need for revision, we can revise and alter the boundaries. But for we review the constituency boundaries, we need information where some of the information here, not to neck the generator. The first information, we need the total population of Salone, and also we need the district population across the country. That information they will get and through statistics Sierra Leone in the form of a census report. The second information, we need the number of settlements. That information they will also get from Parliament. So at the time when the census, midterm census results come out, I think the final report come out in August or so. Now that time they will be able for farm up or will be able for confirm the population quota for say a day about 57,000 inhabitants, we on average for make up one constituency. So if na information we for the generate internally as a commission, we don't do a lot long term, but there is no way specifically section 38 subsection for 2022.
Yes, they talk about the review and boundary delimitations. Now we get constituencies, 132 constituencies in existence, and the parliaments they in term they done by April next year. We make a take it to section 38.5, where they talk about where the boundaries of any constituencies are altered in accordance with the provision of this section, that alteration shall come into effect upon the dissolution of Parliament after the alteration has been approved by Parliament. We mean say, the able approved new constituencies when existing constituencies then they. Whose yardstick ECSL be one use for arrive at conclusion for do boundary delimitation or do constituencies demarcation when we get constituencies in existence and Parliament in session?
No, I think you misinterpret that section, the subsection 5 of section 38. Waiting it is say is that we can draw new boundaries then for the next parliament. And we'll draw new boundaries there. If it be say the boundaries then alter or then different from the existing boundary, then we need for take and go to parliament for later approval. Parliament can approve them. But the effect, even the parliament approve them before the current tenure of the parliament done, that approval did not take effect until the dissolution of the current parliament. It happened 2017. Don't current boundaries there, then be enact them. Parliament approved them in 2017, but the elections happened in 2018. So then take effect after the 2018 elections.
So Parliament or ECSL can do boundary delimitation when exactly we get existing boundaries or we get existing constituencies?
Yes, of course. States. The new boundaries they will do not for this current Parliament, now for the now for the next Parliament. So when Parliament approve them, let's assume so we do boundary delimitation. Let's assume we done them in December, we'll take an Parliament. Parliament approve them. The existing boundaries, then they continue until Parliament, the current Parliament dissolve in April next year. Those new boundaries here, let's assume if Parliament approve them, then not they take effect until this current Parliament dissolve in April. Mainly, any new boundaries we'll do now for the next Parliament, not for the current Parliament.
Continue for stay with me inside the program. William Ado Davis, Executive Secretary na the Electoral Commission of Salone. The program na Good Morning Salone. And today we discuss the PR system with the ECSL, say according to advice from the President, then get for use for the 2023 elections. The program Good Morning Salone, they continue.
The program they continue and we get to the other studio guests, them where we don't introduce earlier. And they come to the other studio guests. Where na Rashid Dumbuya, a commot na legal link, them already be don't get a position after we then you read the announcement say with directives from the president as advised by ECSL, the country for use the PR system for the 2023 election. And I go just quickly read the first paragraph na the press statement where ECSL been pulled after the engagement where then we get with the president. And like how we be hearing from the executive secretary from ECSL, and have been the position that where the commission gets. And it say in accordance with section 38A of the Constitution of Sierra Leone 1991, Act number 6 of 1991 as amended in 2021, refined subsection 3 of the section 38, the president may, after consultation with the Electoral Commission, direct such election shall be conducted on the basis of existing districts in a manner to be known as district block representative system instead of constituencies. And at that particular section, the ECSL say they use for result situation we are in the country for use the PR system for the 2023 election. We're happy this morning because we get two legal representatives then at the studio where might make attempts for interpret to listeners and for understand that part of the constitution where ECSL say then gets for use. Over to you, Rashid Doumbia. You don't hear it from the ECSL, and I just don't read the parts of the constitution where then say the ECSL use. From your legal background where you get and practice we don't do so far, is this particular section applicable for use the PR system 2023 elections?
Well, thank you for when I invite me here today. I appreciate you so much, and glad you for share a platform with the executive secretary of the ECSL, and of course my colleague Ibrahim Tommy, civil society colleague, and also colleague in the legal profession. And I'm happy for at least share my own thoughts in my own little way on behalf of my organization, and as also human rights lawyer, where don't they try for do as much as possible for advance the cause of human rights in Sierra Leone. Yes, this is shocking, but not surprising. Mimi don't know say we will get to this place someday because the arguments don't begin long before. And in the press release, we make them very clear, say, also we do so at the moment, we're not for means rewards, we for blame ECSL squarely. Why? And I will tell you why. And I think the executive secretary in opening make them clear, say, they're not able to do the boundary limitation, the limitation exercise. And the way they make that position, I look back at the Constitution, because this is not a constitutional duty where they give them. The Constitutional Section 38, 1 and 4, give ECSL the power for do boundary delimitation for review, the division of Sierra Leone into constituencies at intervals of no than 5 and not more than 7 years. And so now a constitutional duty. From what they say, ECSL they tell the nation, say they're not able to do them, it tell me clearly, say, they not respect the Constitution and the duty the Constitution put under them. And so they don't create this artificial problem where today seem for they create a lot of problem in the nation. When you see not able to do something, in fact, now an offense under the Constitution. I will tell them this today under Section I think 5 or so of the Public Relations Act, where say if they're unable to carry out perform their duty, they can even remove them for that. So this is something where they take very serious when then they go and say this all over the place. Because to me, it tell we say, wait till make it enough for you to do this work. This work when I'm a part of the calendar of activities, the strategic plan, it may very clear they say they for do boundary. In fact, we get correspondences they also send say they want to do them, and they even begin for do some process on why now they for suspend this, because in the press release now suspend this and halt the process and move on. So then create an environment of uncertainty where in a way provoke perhaps the president for this directive. So we take the fight directly to ECSL. And as an integrity institution, this is a disgrace. That's the word I will use for making us saying unable to do this work.
But according to Mr. Davis from ECSL, he say in as much as them get planning and all then schedule them with them we don't draw. One thing where them be wait for again for get this work done for the boundary delimitation, get for do with the figures them where they come out from statistics Salone based on the midterm census where them been doing. Where it's not the arrival of Dan they come now and the time not able for it.
Yes. So that is the thing. So first of all, you see, let we not be hypocritical about this. So if they have that problem, it is for them first of all to understand that is this a problem that we cannot handle in 2 months' time? Is it a problem that is so big that we cannot address? Because remember, the Constitution say this is not the mandatory choice. Salone shall be divided into constituencies, not to the discretion. The PR system at the discretion, the president may. And make the Constitution very clear as to then to that shall not compulsory. So the question I ask again, and I put up at the press release, is that if they can do a voter registration in 1 month and 3 weeks, we all shocked how they force me for the register in less than a month and not even give you extension, that much, and then done the process. Waiting, they want to tell me now for say they're not going to do this in 2 months' time. This is something that I can't understand. And today, they even give excuses on the August 10. There were many excuses they give. These are just one they give on the midterm census. We see the press release. We read the interview of the chairperson of the ECSL. So the excuses are so flimsy that the duty where the Constitution places under them, for making them abrogator and create this artificial, situation where you appear as if we're in a situation where the exception needs for can take as the rule. It's so unfortunate. So to me, I will talk more on some of the things them going forward, but I think we for start first for say waiting ECSL they do so. This is an institution we trust for do things in a proper way. Why they tell we say they're not able to do this mandatory duty where the Constitution places under them, on conducting elections in Sierra Leone in a free, fair, and transparent manner. It's a question we need to face and ask them and make them know say we're not gladly with them because they are the ones who created this problem.
Quick one, Rashid Dumbuya, you get from William Ado Davis earlier in talk about the reasons them we make them able to arrive at conclusion, and the data from the statistics Salone are one of the reasons them we make they not arrive at the conclusion, and also make an example say or reason say they're not able to review boundaries where 5 years or less than 7 years as mandated by the Constitution of Salone. We mean say they're not able to do them before this time. You not agree with some of the reasons they also way ECSL give and then quote from the Constitution of Salone?
Yes, any valid reason. There's no reason that they're giving that is making any sense.
Why you think so?
First of all, they give a reason on August 10. Doesn't make any sense. August 10 lasted for 1 week, and the government deal with the situation, lift the curfew, and restore the country back to normalcy. You cannot say August 10 affects you, and it's in August. And this process began from February. This is what the Chief Commissioner said. February 2022, they started this whole idea of getting boundaries delimited. Now, they even write the Solicitor General for even get the provisional results for make them start continue. We all see that kind of thing. Okay. So these people were on the process doing this. Suddenly, we don't even understand why they halt and why they now they try for take all kind of reason for now. And in fact, the way they do oneself now is all not correct. Because engage political parties, bring anybody on board, you just go secretly have a consultation with the president and declare by tweets, say we are now going to do the PR system. It's all not done.
We can look more of that inside the program Good Morning Salone. Then Rashid Dumbuya, they talk as a civil society activist. They give your position and organization position on the PR system where ECSL don't declare say now the system where Salone they go with inside the 2023 election. Inside the studio, I want to welcome we other studio guest with Ibrahim Tomi from the Center for Accountability and the Rule of Law. Good morning, Ibrahim Tomi, and welcome to the program Good Morning Salone.
Good morning, thank you very much.
And we don't get submissions, and Carl self getting position on the PR system. What in Carl make up of the announcement of ECSL say the 2023 election they be done or will be held in the PR system?
So as we now know, we don't put out a statement. Carl, IGR and 50-50. We don't put out a statement, and we address 4 broad issues. We get for deal with legal issues, citizens' knowledge about the electoral process, women's representation, the process of nominating candidates to represent political parties in that election. Hopefully, if I give me time, I will talk about these issues in the course of the conversation. But I just want make una know say this conversation we get is part of what we can call electoral disputes. And we just don't conclude one study with funding from Irish Aid. We done the whole report on electoral justice administration at Sierra Leone. That report is done. Interestingly, this was one of the issues we covered in that report. It will be really shortly. I just want to whet an appetite. But the point is that obviously controversial in the sense that the opposition parties, APC and GC, don't come out and disagree with NEC or the president in directive. But the reality is, given the current situation, NEC could have only done what it did, which is not to say Rashid's point is not valid. In other words, Rashid or any other person get right for pick up issues with NEC in the sense that why Unanebu do the boundaries delimitation. And that's why hopefully the executive secretary will explain to the public more why they're not able. But if we don't get census, and the new census data, they show say there have been significant population shifts and changes. The executive secretary gave with numbers moments ago. What that essentially means is that the 2017 boundaries not tenable. So ideally, waiting NEC for don't do, or ECSA now for don't do, now for draw up new boundaries. But they have said they cannot draw up new boundaries. You can agree or disagree with their reasons for not being able to drop the new boundaries. Now, in the absence, or if they're not able to drop new boundaries, then old 2017 boundaries technically don't cease to exist. So we now get a system where, because if you look at 38.3 of the Constitution, that's essentially what it is saying, that constituencies for reflect the national population quota. And if you now have a new data where they tell you, say, that population quota in 2017 don't change, it means you cannot do that. But let me say this, and this is something that I have said many, many times, speaking for myself and in good conscience, I not even believe so for continue with that 2017 boundaries with or without new data. Because if you look at the 2018 election results, as I've repeated myself, you have a situation where one political party gets just 12,000 more votes, combined votes, over the now ruling party. But that party, the main opposition, APC, get about 20 votes, 20 seats more. It cannot be fair. I mean, we left this this half talk and hypocrisy. Let's face it, there is something that is fundamentally wrong with those constituencies. And I have always advocated, even before this conversation started, that there is need to review that. It's in a way, it's a shame that NEC not able redraw those boundaries, because for the life of me, it will be a huge embarrassment for law if I don't go into 2020 elections with the 2017 boundaries, because those boundaries, what they produced after 2018 elections, nobody should be proud of. So which is why I agree with NEC that those boundaries have ceased technically to exist, because now they get new data. The unfortunate thing is that they're not able to draw up the boundaries. Again, they can defend themselves. They can explain why they're not able to draw up new boundaries. They have given security reasons. They've given other, because they are saying if we continue for draw the boundaries, we go infringe on that date where they don't give. That was one of the reasons I had from the chairman. But again, the executive secretary is there. He's in a better position to defend himself. But for the life of me, I have been a lifelong, at least for the last 20 years, I've been a lifelong fan of the proportion. To focus on is implementation, to make sure that the process is fair, is representative, and that we get women's representation, and that the seats that are allocated are based on some fair system. That's where we are. So in other words, unless a court order reverse it, we think that it is the way to go, given our current context.
So as a fan of the PR system, like you just don't state, we mean so you support the PR system, but also you come from an institution where at the Center for Accountability and Rule of Law, where like una don't advocate on issues where governments will uphold the rule of law in particular. From the explanation where the ECSL Executive Secretary Bingi earlier, then reasons and they tangible enough for make, because the other issue will come after the PR system in Tokwana, the timeliness of them. Then reason and they enough for make then direct the president, for let them advise the president for say Salone for use the PR system come 2023?
Oh no, I mean I can get my own opinion on whether there is sufficient.
But from the rule of law.
Of course, there's nothing illegal about it. If they cannot do it, they cannot. They're not a matter of law. It's about their capacity. So let's don't mix things up. No, not pigeonhole me by.
I'm not pigeonholing. I just
rule
ask,
of law. Like it's not everything. It's not everything that's a matter of law. No. Maybe I calm down. It's not everything a matter of law. Some things are a matter of fact, right? The fact is that they have said they cannot, right? Is it lawful? Of course, it is within their mandate for saying we'll never do this. Now, there are two options. So let's talk about options, right? What were the options available to ECSL? Now, if they say, if we continue to drop the boundaries, we'll go in free. Because what they are basically saying is there are international election protocols, so they say, for do any development, significant development in respect of election.
Realistic it been there for achieve the goal at the end of the day when they don't come out, they're not able to do them.
Let's focus on what I know. Let's make progress on this. What I'm saying is, for begin ask whether they'll be able to do this, they'll be able to do that. I cannot say.
According to your assessments, then timetable, you think say being realistic for achieve waiting they be don't put say we're able to do this, take into consideration the census results.
I know. Say essentially is let us put the pressure on ECSL. It is their job to do boundary delimitation. It's not my job. Ask them why they would do them. From where I sit, all I would go by is what they have said. Whether the reasons are justifiable is a different conversation altogether. What I am saying is that the law, as it is, say, where on section 38.3, they say, if there's data that shows, say, the population, for delineate boundaries based on the national quota of the population. If we now get data that say, we will not get, that data don't change, what you have to do is to draw up new boundaries, right? That is ECSL's job, to draw up new boundaries. They have not come up to say, we're not able to draw up new boundaries for security reasons, for other reasons. Right. From where I sit, I can disagree with them, but it has nothing to do with whether, in fact, their own reasons would give, because I have not done an assessment of their capacity or the security reasons they refer to. So right. From where I sit, that's what they ought to have done. That they have not done it is a discussion that we should all have.
All right, continue for the between at the studio. Ibrahim Tommy, we'll come back to Onajis now. Let me take a short break and come over to ECSL.
UTB, Union Trust Bank, the game changer don't come. As we the lead, ATM card. All it can do now for just enter the reference code and collect the money.
System. How long it will take the ECSL for Duam?
Okay, thank you again. I'll make a quick clarification as my other colleagues then just make them points. Basically, the elections now process, the pivotal part of the process or the end process now the elections date, when I know the benchmark date. So I the explainer in the context of conducting boundary delimitation review. So when you don't get the elections date, the next critical timeline we look at now when we for finalize the voter register. In we law, the Public Elections Act say we for don't finalize the voter register within 6 months to the elections. So now we come to voter registration and boundary delimitation. The point I want to make is, first of all, for boundary delimitation, we not get for wait till June 24 before begin apply them or before begin take effect. It the first effect way they take now at registration. And the first side we'll get for use boundaries, especially if we get for draw new boundaries. Now when we they exhibit the provisional voter register. With the plan for exhibit the provisional register starting on the 24th of November. And if you come back earlier, we will need before we even exhibit them, we get for print register, to register for all the centers nationwide. So we need at least like 2 weeks first for print. Before you begin print the provisional voter register, you first of all don't determine your boundaries then. When you ideally in the electoral process, you first demarcate your electoral area, say for constituencies or wards. Where you don't demarcate your boundaries, they register voters in these boundaries, and then you prepare for the polls. So now we don't do registration, but we not get the new boundaries yet. So we need those new boundaries here as early as mid-November. Because for low print to PVR, for let somebody go check for a name, also in a name for them, you need for knowing constituency. Not to just your name or your address. You need for know into which constituency they don't register. So in case...
So una do the registration, where una be no say, una get for the boundaries, and una not be done do it yet, but una go ahead and do registration, right?
Yes, definitely.
But you said una need the boundaries for let the people know who side them for register.
Yes, because we will get a plan for boundary delimitation, and if you look at the strategic plan, now in 2024, then after the 7-year period on kicking.
So now,
but
mix the timing up.
No, we will clearly say externalities that exist at the time when we do the strategic plan of 2020, because at that point in time, statistics they don't come out, say then they do midterm census. So now we say if they do midterm census and the census report is significantly different from the 2015 union, then it will kickstart boundary delimitation. So it will be a contingent activity in the plan. So in February 2022, now the minimum threshold for the review of boundaries kicking. But by that time, the figures not come out from statistics. We only get draft provisional statistics figures 31st May this year. So now that 10 day we kickstart, we begin the preliminaries. But again, you cannot use a draft provisional statistics figure for census until they finalize the figure. So the point why they try for raise is we need the new boundaries here as early as the display of the provisional register. If we get for use, because first of all, another thing, you get for nominate, for instance, candidates into constituencies. So you've already for them placed candidates at registration, voters at registration, when you display the PVR. So you see how tight the timeline is. And the boundary delimitation, not a process where they end with the Electoral Commission, a process where they end with Parliament. First of all, you do your desk work, you do your calculation of your population quota, you also do your seats allocation, then you do your draft boundaries, you take the draft boundaries, go to the provincial districts and engage district stakeholders. It's a participatory process. Then we'll come back and finalize the boundaries. And we'll finalize the boundaries, not till we get the power for enact the boundaries. It has to go to Parliament. So considering all long processes here, we can do boundary delimitation. We get the capacity for do boundary delimitation. But the real question is whether we'll be able to do this boundary delimitation, looking at all this process in time.
Can ask how, waiting at the time frame on use for, we on need for do the boundary delimitation? Because if we not even project the time frame on need, or just conclude so we're not going to do them, then there is a problem. So waiting at the time frame on need for do the work.
Ideally, we will need about 6 months, ideally. But if we are really pressed and squeezed, now something we will go able for kind of compress. But now, at the stage we are talking about exhibiting the voter register in November. Definitely, we not get enough time, no matter how much we squeeze. And we want the process to be participatory. Not to just follow sit down behind with computer, we draw boundaries, we not go discuss with the provincial stakeholders, then we take the draft boundaries, go Parliament, then we say we don't know. That's not the process. Boundary delimitation is a critical process, and it has to be fair and participatory. So it needs some time.
Now we look at the section 38A, where ECSL use for advise the president for arrive at conclusion for use the PR system for the election. Now, a supplementary law to the Constitution of Salone, when a Constitution of Amendment of Salone Amendment Act of 2001. And the conditions them will be leads to this now, because during the rebel war or just after the rebel war, Salone been get constituencies them for go into that election, when a 2002 election. And the opponents them of the PR system, the point C, the conditions them way for make a country arrive at PR system or Salone law, for instance, go at PR system, no they exist because constituencies then they in existence. And considering the adjectives that we don't use for describe why una not able for do boundary delimitation when a tight press and squeeze. Why ECSL insists on the PR system?
Well, I just clarified the point we raised. First of all, the context we raise, we they follow the law, strictly the law, within the law say, within the Constitution say. The Constitution not say the application of the PR system if it be in an instance when a war or whatever.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that because during war, because during that time the conditions that we've been prevail, no, they prevail now, and the opponent of the PR system, that's their position.
Well, now they try to explain. It's not about the context. It's about waiting the law say, waiting Section 38AC for make the president applying power for direct for use the PR. The only instance where it give the president the power. Now, if after when they don't announce date for parliamentary election, we not get boundaries that we establish in accordance with subsection 3 of 38. That's the only instance. No other instance, not again. The other argument that we already get boundaries, existing boundaries, we agree we get existing boundaries. But on boundaries, then population quota will be used for demarcates, then will be 53,000. It's not tenable now, it's not hold now. Now the population quota now 57,000. So waiting subsection 3 of 38 they say, we now the only instance where the direct, give the president the power for direct, possibly for use PR system. It say when we determine the boundaries, then now where you do boundary delimitation now. It say the boundaries of each constituency shall be such that the number of inhabitants is nearly as equal to the population quota. Now, the only instance, so the position now is the population quota of these existing boundaries will be 53,000. So it's significantly different from the new population quota now of 57,000. So now I make the existing boundaries, they are tenable for the existing tenure of this parliament, but they're not tenable for the next parliament. For the next parliament now, we need for court boundaries using 57,000 as the population quota. That's the only instance where Section 38A give the president the power where he can either, if he choose for direct, that we use the PR system.
And the boundary delimitation now one of the essence for the census. And now government don't invest plenty in the census. And the figure they with ECSL now, where now the mandate now of ECSL for draw up boundaries using the statistics they just concluded census figures them. In a situation we say we are not able to use and we say government don't invest plenty couple and you make mention say it been tight. Why at the initial stage we are not been like look at the timetable at that moment and arrive at conclusion say no, we can't go this direction because before election 6 months before stop the activities we get for do with the election process.
Basically, waiting the Electoral Commission, they focus on. So you come again with the point we raised.
Okay, the point now, the government don't invest plenty in this census, and one of the essence of that figure is now for do boundary delimitation and locate constituencies them, and now by that way, government, according to the reason where they raise for the census, be able to allocate development programs them. That figure they in the hands of ECSL now for make a decision for ensure say then demarcates the boundaries them.
Okay, first of all, using the census figure for delimit boundary, not just one of the reasons, Dandy.
Very important.
There are many other reasons for the census, for where they do the midterm census. Of course, from the viewpoint of the electoral don't come out Nado in 2022, and the minimum threshold of 5 years don't kick in. So we get for react. We get for check first and see if anything materially different between 2022 and 2017. So we do that preliminary and review the desk review. And we found out, say, significantly, there has been some population shift and the population quota don't change. So the issue of statistics not purposely do the census specifically for
I know they say
But the
purposely
question
is
here
an
is-
important
Yes.
one.
So the question here is the same way statistics be they do the midterm census.
Yeah.
Una be no say una get for user data. Ahead of the elections. Una not been foresee that one day.
Of course, we foresee that, but that they not there within the control of the timing of statistics and the census. The Electoral Commission not get any
So now
control.
the problem that they we make could ask the question I'll say if una they do planning una know say a major thing like dandy, the results get for come out same way una already don't know say it go for affect the election. And before the date of the election they be announced, NEC go for the president go for do consultation back with NEC.
Yes.
Una be aware of all of that.
Parliament before we even exhibit with provisional register. But the bottom line is the elections date not for move, and we for conduct the elections on the 24th
Continue
of
for
June
the-
2023.
Now the studio, William Ado Davis, na name, we come out of the ECSL and the executive sector. We'll come over to Rashid Dumbuya. We don't listen the explanation again from the ECSL, and this PR system seem for say like, I mean, they are not, you not seem to get any other option at this stage because NEC according to their own calendar and then planning, they say they're not go able to do any boundary delimitation at this time because 6 months to the election, they're not for involving any major thing we get for do with the election. And you don't continue for make mention of the concerns them where legal link gets for sake of all of the issues here. Now the PR system at this stage, from una own points them where una get as concerns, any other thing the way una think say NEC go able for do if una they suggest say the PR system not timely?
Yes, so we see again say the ECSL board executive they find all kind of reason for justify this, but it's a tough one, it's a tough argument, and it's not easy for convince people as to the reason why they not do this. And let us just emphasize a little with me colleague Tommy, and I want for respectfully disagree. Tommy, this is not a rule of law issue. ECSL get a duty under the Constitution. So it's a rule of law issue under Section 38(4). The Electoral Commission shall review the division of Sierra Leone into constituencies at intervals. So now a rule of law issue, now a public duty where they don't omit and don't fail for do. So in effect, they don't renege from the constitutional obligation under Section 34, 38(1) and 4. So let me make it very clear, it's a rule of law issue. Now, he also mentioned about the international framework, the protocol on elections and democracy and election, and West African protocol. Now, let me make this very clear. Me, an international human rights expert. No states no get right for use international law as a cloak for fraud. Now they bad. You don't go against. No, if anybody the reference say where international frameworks not allow after 6 months this if you go in there for use dandy for let you create fraudulent situation in the country, you don't misinterpret the object and spirit of that provision there. All right. Remember also say we get constitution and I will tell we say then for do this in an intervals of less than 5 and not more than 7 years. So they have enough time. All right. Less than 5, not more than 7 years. So they can go up to 5 months and 5 years, 5 months, 5 years, 2 months, 5 years, 6 months, 6 years. 6 years. They have all this time with them. So they get a mandatory provision under the legal framework of Sierra Leone. Okay, where obligatory for make them carry out this activity. So the argument say, well, international protocol, no, they allow, institution for do something in less than 6 months. If you use them as a cloak for fraud, then you have a problem with international.
So for
framework,
you,
right?
agree with the point say ECSL for stop election activities or preparation 6 months ahead of the election.
No, so now here's what I'm saying. We know that this process very germane for respect the obligation of the Constitution. And you have time. There is 8 months to the election. You can still do this process in 3 months. Like I just say, it can be suppressed and have it in 2 to 3 months. So December.
But
So
instead of
January.
6 months. So for you, you
So-
can get enough time for able to do the boundary delimitation.
Yes, they have enough time. So I'm saying if the constitution allow you primary, framework where you get obligation to, all right, it allow you for doing between 5 and 7 years. Waiting wrong for like do 5 years, 3 months. All right. So what would they say? And the point I make on that, then you will see how they deal with the registration. Nobody will understand what they do, but they finally get what they want in 1 month, less than 2 weeks or so. So we they say this for the global registration already they get three data at their hand, 3 population data. They get the 2015 census data, they get the 2021 midterm census, they get even the data on this voter registration. So they have enough data with them. So that is something that they can do if they want for do them in the next 2 months. And that will not stop them for even shift the display of the results where you see now team when they're not going to do until they get this thing a little bit further for catch up with the realities. Remember, they get excuses on August 10, they get excuses. So what to make them not go for look at all the circumventing issues and push a little bit time for meet to the constitutional obligation and rely on international framework and as a cover up, not for carry out a national duty as well for under the constitution.
But calling ECSL for push some of the activities then back, you know, things that could affect the preparation of ECSL for meet up the election deadline?
No, they can work on this from now to December. They can. He just told you that they have the capacity. So what we are saying is this: there should be a will. You see, let me tell you what's the danger about this, and let me be on the record to say, as a civil society activist and a human rights commissioner, former, that I said this. This is a dangerous precedent. And I tell you for the afraid, because tomorrow other government will come and use this and destroy with body politic. You don't go to the constitution easily and abrogate it and you think it's easy. This is an exception and a default situation. And more often, I agree with you, it can be invoked in situation where the country not be accessible to many areas. All right, or where there is an outbreak of a disease, we prevent something, or like a war situation. It was for good reason why, in fact, the parliament agreed, 2/3 agreed. When Pakabak allowed this for going at 2001, 2/3 agreed because they see sense in that. Say, yes, there was a situation where many people were not accessible.
So for legal link,
so for now, in peacetime, you want to invoke this, it's a disgrace to our body politics. But then, let me be clear on this. See, my argument is not going to the president. We have never talked on the president because we think, say, that NEC creates the enabling environment for the president for trigger that directive day. We need to the president. Because honestly, we should have waited to the president on this. But it will be a difficult case because they have now represented to him that they cannot do this, and therefore they cannot move the process. So we have to trigger 38A of the Constitution.
It is constitutional too, because ECSL point to section 38A when a supplementary constitution. You can't say the PR is not constitutional.
No. We are saying it is. It's a law, but we are saying it doesn't come. It's the discretionary route is the default. The mandatory choice is first past the post. So this can only be triggered where there are no constituencies, and one way for get constituencies now for do the revision of the boundaries. Where next they say that they will do
the professional work. They don't get they say they don't calculate in time, and they don't prove say they're not go able for do within the time we then get now. So for legal link, now the timeliness of the PR system we not agree with, because NEC already, not to me and you they do now, then they do them boundary delimitation, and then know the time we go for take them, and then don't say they're not go able to fit into that time day.
Yes.
So now the timeliness we not agree for, because it didn't have the constitution say the president can get directive for go to a PR system where you don't do now.
Yeah. So
And
what?
the timeliness
So what
we
you not agree for? One, ECSL get a duty under the constitution for do this, and the reason when they give it for not for do it not make any sense. I they call on CSOs, we for join together for Alapanek on this. We not for the scene for the make election and see put it and do. No, it's a disgrace. We should all come together and take action and even pump them. Let you say this one, we don't agree on this. We are doing our duty under the law, under the constitution. But for say, no, get a reason. No, they cannot convince us in any way. They not, money constraints was not said, perhaps you can understand, say, okay, money not day. But they're not telling us that about August 10. They're telling about the fact that they don't get time. This is something that was foreseeable. They have a calendar. They have a plan. So you know that this one very germane to the process. Why you tend for make extending to an issue only for country we say now you're not able? That's what we are saying. Now let me also make the point clear. So if the government is desirous and they want to carry on the PR system, there are dangers of the PR system. Yes, thank you very much for giving the opportunity. Now, when you choose a PR system, which kind of they say, you put the party above the people. And in a democracy, you want to let the people at the center of making that decision. So now I make first past the post, people in Lekam, progressive country, the America, they all they use. Because you find out the people and go always hold to account the one they choose for parliament. Because they participate directly in the process. But now you want to push down and give party the power for determining the list, who goes and all of that. So you're putting party above the people. That's the biggest downfall of the PR system. Secondly, they create room for independence. People will argue, say, Nigeria will make American. It's all a lie. Because the constitution says that's 8A, that this by political parties for the block of number of, so that political parties therefore the list to a neck. It's in the constitution, 812. Not independence coming. See? So there is no way they can tell us that they will make it for independence. You know what kind of independent people will be deprived, if they feel aggrieved for stand on their own. And then lastly, accountability to the people. Denaya. Because now the party no more, now you go be accountable to, and the party will determine everything. So that's why we are decrying it. We're not saying this past party post not getting own excesses. But to me, it is the better of the two evils. Because eventually people are at the center of the decision-making process, and they're going for all to account the parliamentarians they will elect down the line. So let's be clear on this. The president, in review, not going to be held responsible in this matter directly because ECSL that they represent to the president say they're not going to carry out the process.
Continue further with me at the studio. Don't make mention of your greatest fears then if Salone use the PR system at this stage. We are according to a disadvantage and then they bought the PR system. But I just become a fan of the PR system we na Ibrahim Tomi. So it clear now say ECSL they go by the PR system for the 2023 elections. And you say you're not a fan of the PR system. Why you think say the PR system not a good system for Salone at this time?
Well, there are many good things about the PR system. But maybe important for class on myths. People learn not to by how you shout really they make your point, not by the strength of your argument. Let us say a few things very clearly. At the beginning of this conversation, I tell you, I say, we don't do a study on electoral justice, and there's a report we don't do. We cover this issue as an electoral justice issue. And clearly, because now a rule of law issue, that is why in that statement to co-author, along with IGR and 50/50, we even urge the court say, if any matter come before them, let them speedily deal with them. So clearly, we recognize it's a rule of law issue. So let me, brother, calm down, right? Not to view the imposed on the other person. On the issue of fact versus rule of law, we are talking about the capacity of NEC, whether they get the capacity. Now I make us say that's a factual issue. I mean, not the work for NEC, I don't know the internal workings, I'm not going to question the capacity. And the issue of drawing up boundaries, expert work, not by somebody's assumptions or anger or emotions. It is actually professionals who do that job. If they say they're never doing, we all, as I said at the beginning, everybody get right for question them. But for try for impose your own views on another person is not even decent. That's not how democracy works. Now, on the issue of the international protocol I referred to, forget about international protocol. Even Section 17 of the Public Elections Act, they tell NEC, then for revise, update, register, revise, update the voter register, then for doing 6 months before the elections. As we know, they still not even exhibit voter register. So what I am essentially saying is, on the law, right, there are clearly issues to be discussed, but from where I sit, because you don't get a new census data where they show, say, the population quota does significantly change from the 2017 data, we need for either drop new boundaries or as NEC don't say now, they're not able to draw up new boundaries and go proportional. That's my position. Nobody not go change them. Nobody knows not they change them. That's where I stand. That doesn't preclude anyone from going to court, I'm coming, to challenge NEC or the AG on any number of issues. Ultimately, it's what the court decides. But from where I sit, because Section 38.3 talks say, if you make sure say constituencies that reflect the national population quota, and we don't realize now, see, the national population quota don't change from 2017, those boundaries, in my opinion, should be changed.
So what about the PR system?
Now, on the PR system, first off, this notion that, they put the parties in charge and not the people, it's just some myth. One, look at the context who they in, without being disrespectful. If you get 146 members of parliament, you get 3 independent candidates, where for the most part, they vote in the current context, they vote with the ruling party. I'm not saying they don't have the right to contest as independent candidates, but I'm saying they are not the ones who change anything. Wait till they talk about the system that ensures, talking about the strength of PR system, it ensures fair representation. And this is why we are not even discussing substantive issues. One thing I want to talk about, how do you determine quote representatives, or how do you assign seats to districts? Me, they argue, say, law assigns seats based on registered number of voters instead of just population census. That way, people are fairly represented. I am all for fair representation. Right. I'm not about just a system. When we just focus on systems without talking about the ingredients or the elements of the system where they promote fairness and representation, that's where the problem is. So let's have the system that ensures that that's the one thing that PR system does that perhaps not that system does. They make sure, say, every vote count, people are fairly represented. So you know, get a system where, as in 2018, you get people in the kind of parliament with 5,000 votes, other people in the kind of parliament 25,000 votes. How do you explain that in a democracy? Ours is a representative democracy. We had that system, no one spoke, no one jumped, no one cared to pay attention. Now we are all on rooftop shouting like, now we care for democracy.
The program now, Good Morning Salone, where they come to you from the Society for Radio Democracy 98.1 FM. And you just listen to Ibrahim Tommy from Center for Accountability and the Rule of Law, CAL.
So we come over again to the ECSL as we go wrap up the program just now. We don't hear representation and different positions regarding the decision where ECSL don't reach out for say the PR system 90 country go get for use ahead of the 2023 elections. So at this stage, in terms of public education, waiting at the plans of ECSL for do public education around the issue we get for do with the PR system, because if you go out there and talk to different people, some people they will not even understand how the PR system they work. Waiting on a plan.
Of course, we don't begin demonstrates. We plan for the fact that myself don't come na the radio station 98.1. Yesterday I be the SLBC in 2 programs. We will continue again with other media stations then. So we go intensify with public outreach at various levels, at the level of the political party liaison committee meetings, and then at the district and regional levels, we go intensify and get public engagements. We get for explain to people. At this point in time, if you reference Section 38A, when you talk about the allocation of seats to district, it has to be by or under an act. We work on that right now with the Office of the Attorney General for law able for lay out a statutory instrument in Parliament who will get enacted. We don't get all on details, then we go get all the nitty-gritties for law actually begin go out and explain in details all of the processes we go entail now the PR system.
So it's on a plan because it clear say the constitution say this PR system where the country they use so now political parties them go for present list of people them we go for represent the public na parliament. Also the independent candidates come in, they're not going for survive.
Well, the commission go stick to within the section 38A. We will follow the law to the letter. And then with the work, as I say, the work is in progress with relevant partners, including the Office of the Attorney General. So we now preempt at this particular point in time. When we get the details, it will soon be out. When we get the details of the statutory instruments, we will go to Parliament, we will come out again and explain them.
In terms of public education and awareness raising, what will be the position of the local council elections under the PR system?
Well, for the local council elections, actually Section 38A not cover them. So what will be the do? Will be the use first past the post in the previous elections from 2000 and I think from the 2000 series. So we will the pass, we call a statutory instrument, a boundary delimitation, ward boundary delimitation order, will be the use for delimit wards them. But now with the PR system, we also the work on a statutory instrument where go cover the use of the proportional representation system for the local councils likewise, but 38A now only for constituencies or member of parliament elections like cover.
So that instrument will not prepare, get foresee local council elections going to the PR system too?
Yes.
For the 2023 election?
Yes, definitely.
How soon that instrument will be out?
As I said, work is in progress. As my colleague rightly say, the ECOWAS international or regional protocol, it advised that we not make any new law less than 6 months to the election. So they try as fast as possible forget all in the, now that the president don't direct that we use the PR system, all the other subsidiary regulations we try for enact them as fast as possible so that we go embark on the details in terms of public sensitization.
All right. Many thanks for you joining at the program this morning. William Ado Davis, the Executive Secretary at ECSL. And I come over to you, Rashid Doumbia, waiting you the left with listeners them and the ECSL because a clear saying that the PR system get for work come 2023.
Okay, yes, so my rounding statement could be one, I think, say me brother, I'm really emotional at this debate. You don't make a lot of comments, ignorance words, you don't blaspheme independent candidates and all of the like. So let's be clear, let's be clear.
You have to take it back,
okay,
not blast.
You said they have not made any change,
three people in the context of 100 for the
it's my turn, Tommy, let's be decent.
Just want to
it's my turn. You can say that after.
Whilst I'm here, don't misrepresent me.
It's my turn. So, right. Tommy, you have your time to say that.
But don't misrepresent.
But you told this public and this media that they have not made money, so you can't change. That's what I'm saying.
They cannot all by themselves.
Okay, so you can react later when it's your turn. So you have been emotional. You said ignorance and all of these things. So what I'm saying here, and what I have to say clearly, independent candidates get the right to participate. You cannot belittle them by their numbers. You never come up from we CSO self for talk that kind of talk. It's unfortunate. And I'm saying my brother needs to apologize to independent candidates who are vital in our body politic. All right. Secondly, you are reacting. Okay, calm down. It's my turn. You can have your bite after. Now, secondly, you talk about also we not make a point on the issue of independence vying for presidency. The Constitution prohibits that. It says in 41 clearly for being a member of a political party. So we cannot be talking things where Constitution will say this will happen. So I'm not even understand which to me they go. The Constitution under first past the post allow for independence. That's why we are saying if you're going to choose PR, you will deprive them and then limit that. Don't. For me, let's be decent. It's my turn. It's my turn. Let's be decent.
Quick one, Mr. Tommy.
Please caution me.
Conclude the program.
Emotional. It's my turn, Tommy. Tommy, it's my turn. Be decent. It's my turn. It's my turn. Tommy, it's my turn.
Okay,
Mr. Tommy,
Tommy, it's my turn. Respect that, please.
Rashid will conclude the program. Now, the PR system, according to ECSL, Salone, they go by not only for parliamentary and according to the provisional instrument in the common just now for local council elections. What's in the position of FUNA quickly?
Yeah, so you see, we push the. In fact, it's becoming so dangerous because for the local council elections, then the frameworks they are ward-based and constituency-based. So now you see we're going to have more complications. Now this act, this amendment, it talks basically for parliamentary elections. So you see now, they are going to add more insult to injury. Because if they want to rely on this inclusive PI system, on that basis, they want to push them to the local council elections. That is what we are saying. And as CSOs, I'm saying this again, we have a duty to the nation to speak out against any government, APC or LP, when misbehaves.